What's up, guys? This is Dustin Zimmerman with Game Time Discussions, and today we are going to build our official NCAA bracket. What we're going to use is the NCAA.com, their official website. I just like the user interface; it's easy to present. But you can make your brackets on, any of the different sports sites: ESPN, CBS, Fox. So what we're going to do is go through some different scenarios, some what if this happens, what if that happens. I'm also going to have the different metrics websites that we discussed or that I brought up on the last video, such as evanmia.com, KenPom, and the T rank is going to be open. We're going to talk about the eye test on some of these teams. We're going to talk about fun upsets, Cinderella picks, and then the eventual teams we think will win. And at the end, we'll talk about my official bracket. And again, this is my official bracket. This is not Emory or Cam's official bracket. These picks are my own. I'm not sure if Emory's going to release their picks as well at some point. So I hope you enjoy. Please, throughout the video, leave comments on picks you absolutely hate that I made, picks you love, some where you think upsets are coming from, any thoughts you have. So let me start sharing this. I'm going to show you something cool on that website specifically, on the NCAA website. So on their official March Madness website, it's pretty simple. You go in, click teams you think will win, yada yada. It goes through the preview, so you can look at true shooting percentage. You can do full overview where they played at. So not a ton of detail here. You can also create a custom analysis, which is pretty cool. So just so we know what that looks like, we can look at 3-point percentage. We can look at, and how important it is to us. So medium, let's just leave them all medium for now. Field goal percentage, free throw percentage. Points in the paint are important. Seed I don't love to use. We will, but it's going to be at the low end. Same with win percentage. It'll be at the low end. One I'm big on is the last 10 games win percentage. Offensive rebounds are very important. Points from turnovers. All right, and then advanced stats. I love my advanced stats. We're going to do net ranking medium. The efficiencies are going to be high. Second chance points, true shooting, assist to turnover is very important. Same with effective field goal percentage, which essentially gives three-pointers more weight. Rebounds are important, and then bench points percentage is not as important. We'll put that at the low, and then we will calculate. So now we can see matchup analysis scores. So based on all the stuff I put in, it would seem that we would want to pick Yale, which is very interesting in this matchup. Now, that said, I don't know how much of these are adjusted, such as overall points in paint and whatnot. These are just blank statistics. They're not adjusted for competition, which is why we use the T rank and KenPom, which are adjusted for competition. So pretty cool. And then also in here, if you have someone that's just interested in making a bracket but doesn't really know what they're doing, they have a full mascot mode where you can pick solely off of mascots, and it compares the different mascots, which is super cool and just an interesting feature. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start, and we'll just go region by region. So we'll start with the South. 16-1, we're not going to have anything real interesting here. And this is going to be the same case for all the regions. I think the 16 seeds, and truthfully, all the 2 seeds are probably going to end up being the same thing, where we don't really make any changes there. Pretty chalk there. Nothing too terribly exciting. Louisville Creighton's a fun one. Creighton, they're perennially around. Louisville has just kind of made this big comeback ever since the Kenny Payne era they're still recovering from. Pat Kelsey did an amazing job getting that team to be very respectable this year, according to my matchup analysis. And I think this kind of works better for teams of even footing as far as being in major conferences versus both being in mid-major or minor conferences, because they're playing similar to equal competition. And with this matchup analysis, it says Louisville. Things I like to check, we're going to come to KenPom, and we're going to see Louisville is 23rd on KenPom. Creighton is 37th. T rank, we can look at, since I have it set to since February 1st, so a little bit more recent. I like to look at the second half to the latter half of or later into the year. And with this one, we're going to search up. So the easiest way I do it is I just look them all up and find them. So Louisville is 22nd on this. Creighton, if I could spell, is 41st. And then relative rankings. So this is from Evan Maya, one of those teams, or one of the websites I was talking about. Super cool, really in depth, as you can see. This is all free information I am looking at. I'm not presenting anything that you need a subscription or paywall for. Louisville being 22nd on here, Creighton 31st. So, and then with the eye test, Louisville had a great end of the year. I'm going to go Louisville. Oh, sorry. We're going to change that one actually. Um, well, while we're here, we'll go ahead and talk about it. I do think Auburn will go ahead and win this game. Now, that being said, Auburn is not, we kind of talked about it with Wisconsin at the end of the year, losing 3 of their last 5. Auburn had a tough end of the year, and I take recent games into a large effect, how important recent games are, such as why I have this set to February 1st. Auburn, you can see at 5th place, right behind Alabama, Houston. And even if we go to a little bit more recent, we can do March 1st and talk about basically the last games in conference tournament. And you can see Auburn drops quite a bit to 17th. Now, I don't think we need to limit ourselves this much because some teams have injuries. I think they're sitting guys when they know they're going to make the tournament. They don't worry about the conference tournament the last couple games, that kind of thing. It is fun though when you see teams like Colorado State shoot up to 2nd place, Xavier in 14th, North Carolina in 13th. These low seeds get moved up because of it. All that to be said, even with this, Auburn being in 17th, you can see even with them struggling, Louisville in 5-1, they're still much higher rated on the metric. So Michigan, San Diego, or UC San Diego, again, you're going to have this big disparity, and it's mainly due to just their competition levels. UC San Diego is a super fun one. There's a lot of upset potential here. I really think there is. Now, Michigan did win the Big Ten tournament, and that is the main reason that I'm going to go ahead and take them to hold on and win this game against UC San Diego. However, as you can see, UC San Diego is above them on the T rank. They finished the year 12-0 versus Michigan going 10-4. And then on KenPom, so KenPom is for the whole year to be transparent. Michigan at 25th, UC San Diego only at 36th. So this is an area we could really see a big upset. I don't necessarily know that I think that'll happen, but I think it's something that we need to keep an eye on. This isn't one to just look over. And then if you look at relative rating with Evan Mia, Michigan on 30th and UC San Diego at 39th, and they're on fire right now. You can even see how they change based on pace. They don't have a big adjustment, which is a good thing. You don't want to see a team with huge adjustments. As you see, Houston and Duke are both very good at playing to their skill levels and their pace. Michigan, they play down to their opponents a little bit. That being said, this is an area where it leaves the door open. All that being said, I'm going to take UC San Diego in the first round over Michigan. I think that'll be my final pick there. I think they get the hangover from the Big Ten tournament. And as we saw, there's a lot of metrics that point to an upset. A&M and Yale, a little bit different story there. Yale, T-rank 89th. A&M didn't have a great end to the year. However, I don't see them having any issue. Look at them; they're 17th in KenPom. Yale, not so much. This is a really interesting one though because Yale's a very streaky team, but so is A&M. This game really could go either way. As you can see, A&M is the things I put in do not favor A&M whatsoever. And that just is what it is. But I do think A&M will win this one. Now, UC San Diego and A&M is going to be a really fun matchup. We just looked at both of these T ranks. Obviously, very close. With the KenPom, we talked about that too. Going to be very close. A&M at 17th. UC San Diego right here at 36th. It's a closer one. Evan Mia, I don't think we looked at A&M's yet. They were finished in 23rd. They don't play down to their opponents so much, but they do have an issue with pace. So they perform below expectation with the pace changes. All that to be said, I do think A&M would win that one, but I think Auburn would beat them next. I know A&M beat Auburn to end the year. I think that was more of an Auburn with a hangover of they just won the regular season SEC tournament, or SEC championship, sorry, pre-tournament, and had essentially locked up a 1 seed that was in College Station. I don't think Auburn has any issue after that, though. Moving on down here. So this is Ole Miss versus the winner of San Diego State UNC. Obviously, the game hasn't happened yet. I do anticipate North Carolina winning, personally. But unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get any analysis there. So let's just take a look at each one. So Mississippi, I don't know why it keeps jumping to the bottom. Ole Miss is 26th in KenPom. You can see the rivals Mississippi State slightly below them. North Carolina finished at 33, so pretty close, not far off, especially for an 11 seed. And then San Diego State at 46th also isn't too far off. But this is why I think North Carolina will win. North Carolina had a very strong end of the year. It looked like they put together some pieces. They finished 29th in T rank since February 1st. And then when you look at Ole Miss, 38th. So not as strong there at the end of the year. We go to Evan Maya. North Carolina is hot right now, but they do play down to their opponents. That being said, this isn't a game where they should quote unquote play down, since Mississippi is 5 seats higher. That doesn't mean necessarily the ranking is correct, um, but it is something to just recognize. Ole Miss at 32nd. So I do think, assuming this is going to be assuming North Carolina beats San Diego State, I do think that they end up beating Ole Miss. Once we flip that around, I don't even know where San Diego State is on here. I don't even know if they're in the top 50 on Evan Mia's, the relative rating. So, oh, and just a heads up, I do have including current injuries, and you can see this little emoji mean team has a significant injuries. Duke is still first, and Houston second. Duke's obviously from Malik and Cooper Flag. Houston, Juwan Roberts is injured. All right, next, Iowa State Lipscomb. I don't see a whole lot of issues coming here. Iowa State is banged up. They're out. They don't have Keyshawn Gilbert. I don't necessarily think it's going to matter. I do think Iowa State will go ahead and win this one. So we will keep on going there. And let me scroll back to our bracket. All right, next is going to be Marquette in New Mexico. So this is one I was talking with with Emory about this morning. Coming into it, in my head, I was thinking, okay, Shaka Smart, first round with Marquette. Marquette's been pretty good all year. I don't think this will be an issue. Well, I jump in, and on Evan Mia, Marquette is playing down to their opponents pretty poorly. New Mexico plays up. And then pace adjust, they don't have an issue. Marquette also doesn't really have an issue with pace. So I went over to T rank. All right, well, let's see how they finished their year. Marquette finished 5-7. I did not realize, without thinking about it, they finished that poorly. Now let's see, who are their losses to? Because if their losses are like St. John's over and over, that's one thing. They lost to Creighton by 10, UConn at home by 8, Villanova, who didn't make the tournament, by 15. UConn again, St. John's in overtime, St. John's by 16. This is a game where I can't decide where I want to go with it. This is a complete toss-up. New Mexico is right behind Marquette when you look at since February 1st. Now, say we change this and we do the full season. So full body of work, Marquette finishing in 31st and New Mexico in 40th. So they're still close. And then we come over to our buddy KenPom's website, Marquette in 28th, New Mexico finishing only in 41st. So this is a very interesting one. Again, the matchup analysis is going to favor the smaller team. This is one I am going to go and call the upset. Now, I'm not super concerned. When we're building brackets, we got to think about total points. We need to get these bad boys correct more than anything. Michigan State's going to beat either of these teams, in my opinion. They were too strong towards the end of the year. Their full body of work is great. Their body of work here at the end of the year, when we pull that up, also great. Not an issue there. We're going to go ahead and take them over either of those teams. Iowa State, North Carolina. This is going to be fun because, again, it depends on the health of Keyshawn Gilbert, but Iowa State is one of those teams that meets the KenPom criteria for being in the top 21 of offensive rating and top 31 of defensive rating. And then their net ranking obviously being 10th overall, which is fantastic. Now, adjusted tempo, they're a little bit lower on. We would like to see that better. I can't argue it too much, though, considering we know Duke is in the 200s, and I believe that they will go a very long way. And then Florida 59th, 360 for Houston, not that worried about it. Alabama, it plays at an insanely fast pace. All that to be said, I think Iowa State does win. I think this is a very interesting game, though, because North Carolina did end the year so strong, and Iowa State is hurt. So Iowa State right here, they're still 14th overall. I don't think they will lose this game. I do think it's an interesting one. They had a fun year. They were really good throughout the year, and then of course got bit by the injury bug. But they did finish 7-6 in their last 13. Losses were at Houston, of course. Oklahoma State, that was a really bad loss. Kansas State's a horrible loss, and that was at home, February 1st. Kansas by 17. BYU by only 4, though. They did dominate Cincinnati, and Kansas State did in the year. Lost to BYU by 3 a couple weeks before that. Obviously, we have them beating Lipscomb. I think Iowa State will win it. I know it's chalk, boring, and then I think Michigan State does handle it from there. Now, from here, I do think Michigan State ends up beating Auburn, and they are the ones who travel. And mainly because Auburn did end the year poorly, I just think that they might not be able to put up with the strength of Michigan State being good at offense and defense. As you can see, I don't know that Michigan State's going to be the team we send all the way because they are not in that top 21 of KenPom. They are amazing at defense, though. Auburn, 2nd and 12th. Obviously, they're a fantastic team, too. But right now, the plan, or my assumption, is Michigan State would win. We'll go ahead and go to the East next. So, I actually, real quick, we'll go here. Same thing. If UNC does end up beating Iowa State, I still have Michigan State going on. Say Iowa State beats Michigan State, then I would change to Auburn. I just think Auburn would be able to outlast the injured Iowa State and the Cyclones. If Michigan ends up beating UC San Diego, I would still probably pick A&M, and then this would not change. Same if Creighton was to beat Louisville. I don't have a change there. Let me switch all this back. All right. Like I said, no very interesting 16-1. Duke's going to win. Yeah, that just is what it is. Sorry. Baylor and Mississippi State. Looking at this one, I do think Baylor's going to win. They finished the year just better. They do play down to their opponents, but again, I don't think that'll be an issue when Mississippi State arguably has more talent, and you can see they've played worse in recent games. Let's get back to our main T rank page. Baylor, 34th. Mississippi State down here at 46, finishing the year 5-7. Baylor finishing 6-7. Let's pull up what their losses were. Lost to Houston, I'm not worried about. Same with Cincinnati to an extent. Same with Arizona. Same, again, Houston, Tech. So Tech by 2. So a lot of their losses are very close losses. And with that being said, the only really bad loss on this list is probably this Colorado one. And again, it was by 2 points. Same with Cincinnati by 2 points. Losing to Houston by 4 and to Tech by 2, I'm not worried at all. I would gladly take Baylor for that one. So we will advance the Bears. Duke, I'm taking them. Oregon Liberty it was more interesting before I read into the data more. Oregon at 31st. I was hoping Liberty would be one of those 12 seeds that's really good. But they're just not. They're down here at 62nd, which is fair. It means they're ranked properly, I know, but it's no fun. 52nd on the T rank. Oregon down at 35th, though. So this is where I realized, oh, wait, it's not near as close as I thought it was. Oregon, looking at their last 12 games, they did have a rough stretch, though. So this skews it quite a bit, especially with Nebraska, who should have made the tournament until they collapsed down here. Michigan, obviously, in the tournament. Michigan State being a 2 seed. And then Michigan State again. Oregon's a lot better than that end of the year looks like. So let's just say we fast forwarded 2 weeks even. So we'll go to the 15th and just take out that losing streak they had. Not that we should overlook that, but just to get a different idea. Oregon at 27th and then Liberty still at 50th. That being said, Oregon's trending up, Liberty trending down. Or not trending down, but just not improving as much. We're going to take Oregon. Arizona was very good on the metrics all year. They did slip up a little bit at the end. They are very close to meeting that KenPom criteria. 12th in offense, 33rd in defense. They've got senior leadership with Caleb Love, which goes a long way in the tournament. I'm going to take Arizona over Akron. I've heard some rumblings about people talking about the upset there. I just don't personally see it. Akron is way down here on KenPom. If they do it, I would absolutely love it. It would be amazing. I don't know why Akron's not even popping up on the T rank. That's strange. Well, figure that one out later. Where Akron ended up. Um, could just be from my settings. But regardless, and then Evan Maya, Arizona is going to be pretty high up here. They're very volatile. So this could go either way. This is a situation where Arizona may slip up. I don't think so. I do think they end up beating Akron. That being said, let's set up our 5-4 matchup. Back to Ken Palm. So I don't love to reference Ken Palm past kind of the first round just as much because it's not going to change. T rank we can really boil down to the full season and then slowly get closer towards the end of the year. But Arizona was good all year. This is from February 1st. They've been 11th since then. And then let's say we went a little bit further out, again, February 15th. So it gives us this last month of the year. They're still at 17th, so downtrending a little bit, but Oregon at 27th, slightly below them. Not bad. And again, Oregon finished 7-1 their last 8 games. Arizona finishing 5-5. So where do we go from here? Arizona obviously having their losses to Houston, Kansas, Iowa State, BYU by a point in Houston. So all teams that, we can't make too much fun of Arizona for losing to. This one's a real toss-up. It could go either way. We kind of take a closer look at offensive rebounding. They're a little bit better at second chance points, better at true shooting percentage, better assist to turnover ratio, effective field goals, overall rebounds per game. One of the big ones I like to look at, or the main one, is rebounding and then efficiency. They hold their opponents to a worse efficiency. Overall efficiency is great. I don't think there is any issue going on there. So what we will do is we will go ahead and move Arizona forward over Oregon on this one. And again, this is a toss-up. It could really go either way. So we will keep on moving. Next one, BYU and VCU. This is the one everyone's talking about. Should we go ahead and take the upset? What are we doing here? I was telling Emery about this one. VCU and BYU. If VCU was matched up against any other 6 seed, I would absolutely love it. So I'm checking on the scores where the playing games are happening now, so I'm trying to get live updates. VCU is going to impress a lot of people. I've talked about it with a fan in the comments quite a few times. I'm a big fan of this. Look at this Ken Palm, 30th versus BYU being 6th. Oh, it's beautiful. Now let's do our favorite thing. Let's go ahead and let's do Evan Mia first. So BYU up here at 19th, but look at 16th. It's our boys at VCU. And then to end the year, again, we'll do February 15th for this one. VCU 22nd. They finished 8-1. Who was the one loss to? And that's always important. Dayton, who is a good team. They ended up missing the tournament, but they're a good team. And it was by 3. The rest of their games, win by 7, win by, was that 17, 24, 18, 29. These aren't good teams, but they dominated them like they're supposed to. So I am going to go ahead and take VCU against BYU in this one. Wisconsin, Montana. I dog on Wisconsin all the time. They weren't my favorite team to end the year. You can't drop that many games in a row. But then they stepped up in the Big Ten tournament. They meet that Ken Palm criteria. We go to Evan Maya. Again, VCU right here at 16th. Wisconsin at 13th. They do a good job with their opponent. So, but struggle to dismantle teams that are worse than them. Oh, they're actually worse against. I was reading that backwards, but they struggle against teams worse than them. So I am going to go ahead and make the claim right now, and this is not just for my friend in the comments. We are going to go ahead and put VCU in the Sweet 16. So We love VCU. I'm a big fan of them. I want to see them run it again. Another Cinderella would be awesome, even though they're 30th in Kin Palm, so it's not so much like when we get teams like SIUE who pulls off an amazing upset. We are going to go ahead and take VCU though. St. Mary's Vanderbilt. Obviously, the SEC was an absolute just battleground. We will go ahead and see where we can go from there. So let's see, where is Vanderbilt at? They are 49th. And our St. Mary's team, oh, it's not loading. Oops. Okay, let's do it this way. There we go. At 22nd. So St. Mary's was very good, Ken Palm wise. So hard to say. I personally do like Vanderbilt more just based off the eye test. They've been streaky. I do think I need to come to terms with the fact that they won some big games, but we can't trust them to win them all. St. Mary's in 31st. We come over here, St. Mary's 17th. Vanderbilt, I don't even know where they're at. Not great based on this one. So we're gonna go ahead and take St. Mary's in this one. Next one though, Bama, their pace is just too crazy. Bama VCU is going to be interesting in terms of the pace here. So Bama plays at the fastest pace in the country. I don't know if that's on here. It's not, and that's okay. Oh, tempo rank. Yeah. They are one of the single fastest teams in the country. Just absolutely insane. Oh yeah, first. There we go. I misread it. So their tempo is very high. Now, we need to figure out where VCU is and how well they can handle the tempo change. VCU right here, they are at 191st, so much slower. What do they do with that? They're fine. They don't make they don't do horribly. They are a little bit more slow paced. Alabama, obviously the exact opposite of that. But they can adjust to the slow pace as well. So because of that, this is where our Cinderella run ends, and we have Alabama passing up VCU. I'm going to save the fanfare for everyone. Duke is a really good team. Now, I need to preface this by saying, I guess it's a little late for a preface, but Duke needs to be healthy. Cooper Flagg needs to play. Malik needs to play. That's what it's going to come down to. Now, Duke and Bama, we're at this point where we need to talk about, can we just rely on analytics? And no, the answer is no, you can't. But Duke did go 31-3. Bama went 25-8. Let's look at Bama's losses, especially down the line of the season. So we'll go back to our friend at February 1st, last month and a half. Bama finishing the year 7-5. So they had 8 losses, and 5 of them were in the last couple weeks. So what we're going to do is they lost to Auburn, they lost to Missouri, Tennessee, Florida. Now, that said, these teams are all tournament teams. That's because almost all of the SEC was a tournament team. Who did they win against? They beat Arkansas, they beat Georgia, they beat Texas by a lot, they beat Kentucky by double digits, Mississippi State by almost 40, and then Auburn and Kentucky again by almost 30. Alabama looks great, but they did get smacked by Florida too. They actually got beat by Florida a couple times, and then by Missouri double digits. Evan Maya, obviously, we talked about. Duke, number 1. Alabama, number 5. Because of that, I'm going to go ahead and stick with Duke. I know we have 2 1 seeds. Not very interesting. But, I forgot. We had a 1 and 2. There we go. We got a 1 and 2 seed. I forgot we had done the different scenario for Auburn. Say VCU wins. Obviously, we're still going to stick with Duke. That's a fun one, though. If BYU wins, I actually don't change this. I leave BYU beating Wisconsin. I don't trust Wisconsin with how poorly they ended their year. So we're going to stick with VCU. If Liberty wins, we stick here. Arizona still goes. If Arizona gets upset, we are going to take Oregon to go there. Nothing will change as far as Duke and with Mississippi State or Baylor. We're going to go ahead and have the same outcome there. Going down here, 16-1, we've got Florida 1. Easy enough. UConn, Oklahoma, we're going to have a really tough time here. So UConn is the 2-time defending champions. They are 35th in Ken Palm. They are not great, especially at their seed. Oklahoma's 38. Ken Palm's no help to us. We're right here together. So let's go to Evan Mile without loads. Connecticut 20th in relative rating, which is decent. Oklahoma all the way down here at 47th. We go to our last since February 1st. Connecticut 36th. Oklahoma 49th. A lot of things pointing to Oklahoma losing this one. Connecticut did go 23-10 for the year. They went 8-4, I believe, down their final 12 games. Where did Connecticut go? Lost it. There we go. 8-4. Who were their losses to? St. John's. Seton Hall in overtime is actually really embarrassing. Can't lose that game. St. John's again, and then Creighton. So, not too worried about their losses. They had good wins. Beat Providence by double digits. Beat Marquette by 6. Destroyed Seton Hall as they're supposed to. Beat Villanova as they're supposed to again. And then St. John's lost up here, but they did beat Marquette and Creighton also. So we're going to go ahead and go with UConn. That being said, I think Florida's unstoppable in this game. They're just so good. You can see their matchup analysis. They hit threes. They hit from everywhere. They just can't hit their free throws. You got to be able to do that to win games here. Overall win percentage much better. Better in their last 10 games. Offensive rebounding is better. Points off turnovers is better. They're better with efficiencies. Their overall efficiency is slightly better. So we're going to go ahead and go with Florida, moving on there. Say these switch up, doesn't matter. Sticking with Florida. Yep, 12-5, Colorado State. Reason being, let's look just straight up at KenPom. 42nd for Colorado. Memphis is the most overrated team on here. Or overseeded, sorry. I don't know if they mixed up them in Louisville or what happened. I feel bad for Louisville because if Louisville was in this spot, we're taking Louisville. There's just no reason not to take Colorado State. They're hot right now. Memphis is injured. Over the last, I think I was showing Emory, over the last month or so, Colorado State's in the top 15 in the country even, which is just utterly insane. I think I had it set to the 17th when I was showing him. Yeah, Colorado State's 8th. They finished the year 9-0. That being said, 8-point win, 8-point win, 22-point win, 27-point win, 27-point win, 10-point win against Boise State, who was right on the bubble. 8-point win. Utah State, who's in the tournament, beat them by 11. Boise State by double digits. We're taking Colorado State. There's no reason not to. Maryland, Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon was a team last year. A lot of teams, people thought might get an upset. They couldn't pull it off. Maryland is very good. They are actually really good in the metrics. They're 12th. We look over here. They're right behind Colorado State. They finished the year 5-2. That is due to losing to Michigan in the Big Ten tournament, and then lost to Michigan State by 3. And that was actually, I believe, the buzzer beater game. They dominated USC. They beat Penn State on the road. They beat Michigan on the road. They dominated Northwestern. They absolutely dominated Illinois in the tournament. They were a point away from beating Michigan and going to the Big Ten championship, and I do believe they would have won the Big Ten championship, which Emory called that Maryland would, and I made fun of him because they didn't. They probably should have, though. So unlike our friends VCU over here, I do think Maryland progresses past Colorado State. Just not enough juice for me. I would love it. I don't think it matters next round, though. I think Florida ends up going on regardless. Drake, Missouri. This was one I heard a lot about and said, oh man, this is going to be my pick. And Missouri's just really good metric-wise. They're underseeded by a lot. They should probably be higher. We look here at the end of the year. They finished the year going in 26th in T rank. And then we look at Drake, 54th, even going 7-0. Very hard to say that they should, that we should want that. 2 of these being overtime. Now Drake has 3 total losses on the year by 13 total points. We can't overlook that either. They're a team that wins. One good thing to do is let's go ahead and go to Evan Maya. Missouri here at 29th. Drake all the way down here at 49th. So they have a tough time with teams worse than them. Missouri, they're not going to have many issues there. Drake, Drake can't handle the ones worse than them. I don't see them stepping up to Missouri. Originally, this was going to be one of my big upset picks. Just didn't happen. I'm super high on Tech. We'll just start there. They are sixth overall in offense and then 37th in defense. They did have multiple guys injured in the Big 12 tournament, but I think from what I read, they're supposed to be returning. So this does hinge on them returning. If they are injured, we are going to take either of these teams, Drake or Missouri, to beat Tech in the next round if Tech stays injured. But we won't know. Right now, we're going to go with the assumption they're not injured. Kansas, Arkansas is cool because of the names. That's pretty much it. Kansas is much better metrically, quite literally double. We go here to our T rank as normal. Kansas 29th, Arkansas 41st to end the year. What were those games like? Arkansas losing to Ole Miss by 3, losing to South Carolina, who didn't make the tournament, by 19, barely squeaking out a win against Texas. But overall, not bad. They deserve to make the tournament, even as a bubble team. Kansas finishing 4-4. They got demolished by BYU, but that was more of an outlier game because then they only lost by 5 to Tech, 6 to Houston, 11 to Arizona. This one is also a toss-up. I don't think, luckily, this is a game where I think St. John's wins against either of these teams. I'm going to go ahead and pencil in Kansas. I'm not happy about it because I am. I mean, I don't know. I'm also okay seeing Calipari not win because I just don't think that team's good enough this year. Maybe next year, but either way, I think this is going to be a really funny game to watch. I do think Kansas just has the leadership with Hunter Dickinson and KJ Adams Jr. To win, but I think St. John's wins after that. Moving forward after that, St. John's, I love them. On my original, I predicted them to come out of the quadrant or the region. That has changed, mainly because I realized that their offense isn't good. It's 65th overall. Their defense is amazing. The problem is they're going to go up against Tech, who has the 6th best offense and a 37th best defense. We look at the T ranks of them. We're going to have to go straight to the top because both these teams are good. St. John's here at 13th because they finished 8-0. Tech right behind them with 3 losses because they are to TCU on the road, Houston at home, and then Arizona. This one is with 3 guys injured, 1 or 2 of them starters. All that being said, we're going to take Tech. Now from here, we kind of get the same situation as the Duke, Bama, the Auburn, Michigan State. You got to just grit down and decide which one you like more. I think I like Florida's ability more. I do think they have the harder strength of schedule. Net ranking 13th on strength of schedule, Tech's being 50th. You're going to see that a lot with these SEC schools because the SEC was an absolute gauntlet this year. So we are going to look at Evan Mia first, Duke, Houston, Florida, and then Tech down here. But I mean, again, with Tech, it's because of the injuries, but still 11th is awesome. But end of the day, we're going to go ahead and take Florida. Last region, Houston, Gonzaga, Georgia. I wanted to take Georgia originally, but Gonzaga is so good. This is probably going to be one of the toughest ones as far as future points down the road goes. I do think Houston wins, assuming Juwan Roberts is healthy, the rest of the team's healthy. They're second, and that's with injuries included. They are just really good. Their roster's amazing. Gonzaga, the problem I have with Gonzaga is that I still don't really know how good they are. They did great with the metrics, but they did it against bad teams. Just being that they're in the West Coast Conference, it's not their fault. It just is what it is. Now, they dominated those teams and beat St. Mary's by 7 after losing to St. Mary's by 7. This is going to be a really fun game to watch. I highly recommend everyone watch this game. I'm assuming most of you are anyways. Both of these teams meet criteria KenPom wise to win it all. I do think Houston will just outlast them though. Clemson and McNeese State. So Will Wade is the coach at McNeese State, and they win games. They win a lot of games. McNeese ended the year 27-6. The problem, so this is very similar to the VCU BYU one for me, is that Clemson is just a lot better than probably where they should be metrics wise. They're good at offense and defense. McNeese State is not. So they are about the same in both, and they're in the 60s. And I thought, okay, well, let's see. Maybe they ended the year on a streak and they did really well. Well, Clemson finished in 22nd, 6-1, and that's mainly because they played in the ACC. And their one loss is to Louisville, who we said was also very underseeded, and it was by 3 points. These include 10-point win, 15-point win, 13-point win, 9-point win, 18-point win, 3-point win. Not against good teams per se, but they won them regardless. I'm going to take Clemson. I wish it was more fun, but it is what it is. Purdue and High Point. High Point just has no reason to win this game. Like, at least here with McNeese, it's close. High Point's 84th in KenPom. On Evan Mia, actually, let's take a look there. Clemson's 21st there. And then they were playing McNeese State, who isn't even in the top 50. But High Point is not going to be in the top 50 either by any stretch. I don't think Purdue goes far in this tournament, though. This team has been kind of bad recently. Well, that's how it is. They were, I don't even want to say they were fun to watch. They were okay, 40th to end the year. They made the tournament and got a 4 seed for some reason, with losses to Michigan State, Indiana. They did beat UCLA, who's a good team, and they dominated Rutgers, beat USC, got smacked by Michigan in the tournament. Again, Michigan did end up winning it all. But I do think Purdue wins against High Point, but I think Clemson beats Purdue handily. Texas, Xavier, or Illinois. Illinois is dealing with injuries, so that just needs to be said there. They are 20th on our KenPom, which is good, but the problem is how they finished the year. Texas and Xavier are right next to each other, so this is actually an amazing 11-seed matchup that they get to do a play-in game for. To end the year, though, because we need to look at that, Illinois all the way down here at 47th. How did they end the year? And again, somewhat due to injuries, but got smacked by Maryland. They did beat Michigan by quite a bit, though. They beat Purdue. They beat Iowa. Absolutely destroyed by Duke and destroyed by Wisconsin. Neither of those build much hope for me. Illinois down here at 28th, trending downwards. They're volatile and they're injured. They've got issues all over the place. Texas, 41st. Not horrible. Xavier, 33rd. I do think Xavier probably beats Texas. That being said, let's go back over here. Xavier finished the year strong, 5-1. Who are these two? Butler, they win by double digits. Seton Hall, they win by 7 on the road. Creighton, they beat by 22. Butler, they beat by 13. The team got healthy, and then they lost to Marquette by only 2 points. I think Xavier wins, and then I think they go and beat Illinois. Kentucky Troy is going to be a good one. I do think Kentucky wins. So Kentucky is very good. That's it. They're very good. The problem is they're injured. They have injuries up and down, which is why even on Evan Mia, they dropped all the way to 34th behind Xavier. For that reason, injuries. We're going to move Xavier forward. I do think Kentucky with first-year head coach, I think they're good. I don't think they're good enough because of the injuries, because of first-year head coach. First year at Kentucky, he was at BYU, Mark Pope. UCLA, Utah State. So UCLA has some eye test candy for me. UCLA finished the year pretty strong. Actually, never mind. They didn't. I thought they did. They did not. 3-3 with losses to Minnesota, Purdue, and Wisconsin. So 2 of those tournament teams. They did beat Ohio State. Probably should have been in the tournament, but that's a story for another time. Beat Northwestern by 4 on the road. Dominated USC. Utah State finished 4-3 in the Mountain West, so much worse. They did lose to Boise State, got absolutely throttled by Colorado State, and then lost to Colorado State again. They did beat UNLV. I'm not going to jump for joy over that one. Utah State doesn't even make the top 50 here. UCLA does. They're 26th. I wonder if this will show me if I go to 100, if I can get Utah State actually. There we go, 54th. Yeah, I just don't think that we see them. They are disappointing against high quality teams. I don't see them stepping up. We're going to take UCLA. That said, Tennessee's much better than UCLA. This 7-10 is probably my least favorite 7-10 in terms of how interesting it's going to be and what they can do afterwards. Tennessee probably beats Texas or Xavier. They're just a really good team. That is what it is. They're up here for a reason. They are sliding a little bit. I think they're good enough to make it to the what is that? The Elite Eight. I don't think they make it to the Final Four. They are amazing defensively, pretty good offensively. Finishing the year 6-2. One of those being in the SEC championship game, though. Don't forget that. And the other one's to Ole Miss by 2 on the road, and they are in the tournament as well. They beat Texas by double digits. They beat Auburn by 5. This team's not bad. The analytics are weird on them. They beat A&M. They beat LSU on the road. They beat Bama. It's because they're not winning by large margins. But that's also part of being in the SEC. Yeah, Houston's just better than Clemson. Like I've said, these top 3. So I've kind of got tiers for these teams. My S tier is these 3 right here. Duke, Florida, Houston. They are unbeatable to me. My A tier would be Auburn, Tennessee, Bama, Tech, Michigan State. We would actually jump, and I would probably take St. John's. And then B tier would be the Gonzagas, Iowa State, Maryland, Arizona, Wisconsin would probably be somewhere in there, maybe below. And then we get to C tier with like A&M and the rest of these ones down here. So, and then I do think Houston ends up beating Tennessee. I know, not super fun, but that's just the S tier right now. These teams are senior led right here. Tom Izzo, a lot of older guys on Florida, and they're very good. Duke has probably the best roster in the country, and that's what, even with injuries. So, they also go on streaks. They don't give up streaks. They're very good. We're looking at kill shots here. This is on Evan Mia. So this is going on. Kill shot is when you go on a 10-0 run. Kill shot conceded is obviously when you allow a 10-0 run. Margin per game is important. That basically shows how much I go on minus how much they go on. This is why McNeese State has a chance, though. They can go on runs. This is actually let's rewind a little bit to that Clemson game, just because I meant to bring up kill shots earlier. So we can see them there. Where is Clemson on here? That's going to be our question, because that's going to determine what. I mean, their margin isn't good. McNeese State, if they can go on a run and keep going, they might be able to beat Clemson. Clemson's kill shots 0.15. They're not good. Not good at all. Doesn't give the ranking on here. I thought it did, but that's okay. So, yeah, that's going to be a fun one. That said, I will say if McNeese wins going up against Purdue, I'm taking McNeese again. So it'll be the Clemson or McNeese going to the Sweet 16 and then Houston beating them. All right. Houston, Duke. No, our 1 and 2 here, our 1 and 3 here are over the last, or for the end of the year, our 1 and 2 here. I wish this was our championship game. It's not. We are going to go Duke. We're going to go Florida, which is our 1 and 2 here. Mainly because Michigan State's offense, I don't think will outlast Florida's offense. I think it'll be an absolute battle going back and forth. And then my champion is the Duke Blue Devils. This all assumes that Cooper Flagg is healthy. The rest of the team is healthy. That is my official bracket. I'm going to go slowly. You are more than welcome to screenshot or look at, make fun of it. Tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me where I'm right. Copy it, paste it. I don't care. Whatever you want to do with it. We'll throw in a tiebreaker. I think this will be a pretty high scoring game when it happens. We'll call it 76-73 or something. So there you go. Thank you all for joining me. I hope y'all enjoyed it. That is all I go through. And yes, this took 49 minutes. Now that I have this one set on like ESPN, I can do quick fill and autofill and kind of make tinkers from there. So like I said, maybe I do one where I change this McNeese State to go there instead of Clemson. It'll be something along those lines. So thank you all very much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it. I love making brackets. I'm one of those guys that's going to go make 25 on ESPN and probably another one, have this NCAA one, go on CBS and make a couple with some friends. Again, I'm not spending an hour on every single one of them. It's just fun for me to do, and I like looking at all these stats and stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, please, please, please. Please leave any questions, comments to the VCU fan who continues to help us out and comment with the videos. Thank you so much. We love having the dialogue with you, and I'd love to talk more about it. For fans of every other team, please leave comments. Let's talk about the resumes. Let's talk about some scenarios where we think the team's going to go. Good luck with all your brackets this year. I hope you all have a lot of fun, win all your friends' leagues, win some money with whatever you're doing, work leagues. Good luck, have fun, and let's all enjoy March Madness. Thank y'all very much.